Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Vitamin C Show. I'm here with my friend Katie Casagrande. She was in the first episode, and today we're actually going to be talking about first date advice and worst first dates. Now, this episode is a little bit more exciting than the first one because it's actually going to be our first one on film, and it's taken us a really long time to set this up. So please watch it in its entirety if you can.
So fun fact, this is actually our second time shooting this episode because the first time we shot it a few days ago, we also had Giselle with us, who is also in episode 1. But we're doing this thing with recording with these
was such a nightmare.
Little mics, and we were recording with my camera, and
basically everything bad that could have happened. And so we're not going to get into that today, but it's a learning curve, and all that matters is that we're here, you're here, and you're ready to listen to what we got to say.
So grab a cocktail, grab a cup of tea,
a mimosa,
and listen to the shit show that we were about to unfold with you guys.
Okay. So actually, Katie's actually going on a date. What is it, next Saturday?
It's next Saturday.
Okay, cool. I'm actually really excited for her because Katie, she has a good history with like first dates, but I feel like it's the aftermath that low-key sucks.
I've only had 2, I wouldn't even classify them as bad first dates, and they're going to be the ones that I talk about later.
Yeah.
But they're just funny first dates, and then in the aftermath of every single one of my relationships is something that's traumatized the entire friend group. Like any possible way that you could think of how did my relationship end, it's probably happened to me.
And I feel like it's important to know as a woman, like just how to date in today's day and age, but also
because dating in today's society sucks.
So different. It's so
fucking
different.
Sucks.
And I hear stories with my grandparents talking about like how they dated, and it's just night and day difference. Not to mention they didn't have the technology that we had today. So we also have to deal with the nitty gritty of like dating apps, which honestly, for some people it works, but for most people, I'd say it doesn't. So yeah, with that being said, I guess we'll dive into some first date advice that we would give if we were going on a first date. Let's see, what do we have? First thing we have is to be yourself. I feel like that sounds cliche, but it's so true. It's self-explanatory.
It's so true.
Because if you put up a front and try and act a certain way, they're going to expect whatever you gave them later on. You know what I mean?
One thing that guys like to see, whether they want to recognize it or not, is consistency. And if you're putting up this front, this personality, whatever you are bringing to the table on day number 1 of seeing them, they're going to expect that you deliver that whenever you see them. So I like to kind of, I don't really, that's a lie. I kind of do go all out for my dates, but also keep in mind, like, I look like this 90% of the time of my life. It is very rare for me to wear makeup nowadays.
But I feel like it's so fun to get ready when you're not going on a date all the time.
It is.
That feeling, it might be better than the date itself.
Low-key, yeah, like prior to girls' night out, getting ready together, blasting Bad Bunny in the bathroom, like that is what fucks, truly. Mm-hmm. But you can't go into it also with the expectation of, oh, like, I always have really good first dates. Like, they always want to date me afterwards, which is true for myself. But I've also realized that in the past few years, not every person you have a first date with is going to end up being your boyfriend. Sometimes it's going to...
Most of the people.
Yeah. Sometimes it's going to be a one and done type of deal, and that's okay too. So you also have to go in with zero expectations as well. I find first dates are more fun when you know next to nothing about the person. Because, okay, so think of it this way, it's like, let's say like you meet on Hinge and you do like all like the small talk, like, oh, like where'd you go to school? What's your degree? And blah, blah, blah. Hey, you seem really fun. How about we go on a date at some point and we learn more about each other? Then when you get to the date, you kind of already covered all that surface level conversation, which I think is through text, which I think is kind of variable up to the person if you enjoy that part or not. But I will say I've only been on one date where I've known like next to nothing about the person. And I honestly had a really fun time on that date, learning the surface level.
I think it's actually really ironic that we're the ones filming this video because, mind you, Katie and I are single right now. Okay, but I will say we have both been in long-term relationships, and I'd say
You more than me.
Yeah, I've been in, I'd say, 2 long-term relationships, but one of them was better than the other, and I can say that we have experience at least being able to give the advice to find at least a quality person. What's the next thing on the list?
All right. Oh, don't bring up anything sexual because then the guy will think that you are easy to get into bed with.
Yeah, let me like preface this. There is nothing wrong with you wanting a one-night stand.
True.
There is literally
Absolutely.
But it has to be a clear intention that is both of y'all's intention for the night. If your intention is, I want a relationship, I want someone who is very serious about me, and you go into it making sexual remarks or sexual things, that person is going to think that either that's all you're interested in, or that you're easy, or that you are a one-night stand, instead of the possibility of getting into a relationship.
Yeah. That's been very difficult for me because
She likes to make a lot of little jokes like
I love to make funny little jokes like that. And it's honestly really hard to, like control myself and say, this is a person I met 20 minutes ago. I cannot be saying this shit because the shit that I'd be saying on dates every once in a while is something that I would say to you
Katie's
or Giselle.
not the type of person that wants a one-night stand.
No.
This is the funniest thing. Like,
if let me make a comment to the viewers. If you are watching this right now and you are falling in love with me and my amazing charisma,
put yourself out there, girl.
my Instagram is katie.marie with 3 E's and 3 underscores. Come see what I'm about.
Yeah,
because
okay, so
personally,
shoot her a text.
I'm really fun.
Yeah. All right. What's the next thing? Honestly, I'd say if you take away anything from this video, it should be that. Like, please do not go into a first date and be like, let's fuck. And then you're like, why doesn't he want me? Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Please don't, girl.
Oh, I think this is a good one. Do activities that the other person likes as a fun date to kind of get to know who they are a little bit just from outside the surface level conversations. I remember once in like freshman year of college, this was my first date ever. I did not start dating until I went to college. And the guy knew that I was a figure skater and he was like, hey, let's go ice skating together. I think that'd be really fun. And it was actually a very fun date. I was not interested in the man whatsoever.
Okay.
But I mean, it was really fun. And I thought that it was very nice of him to put a little bit more effort into trying to see what I like to do outside of, just school and studying and hanging out with my other friends.
I think it's important that if you're with someone, that you do things that the other person likes. That being said, I think on a first date, I'm traditional in the sense that I believe that the man should take charge in the first date. Like, and that is just an opinion. But I feel like a man taking charge on a first date is him showing you that you're interested. Point blank. It doesn't even have to do with like him covering the check. Although I do believe that's a part of it, but that's not the point of it. If that
Should we
sense.
segue into first date expectations?
Yeah.
I mean, you already covered one of them.
I guess I do expect whoever asked me on the date to pay.
Okay.
And usually it's, if we're imagining the normal scenario, it's somebody asked you. That person should pay, in my opinion.
I never expect them picking up the check. If they do, I mean, they always do. It's a very nice gesture, and I thank you. And I will always thank them for it. But I always try to expect the unexpected because our dating realm is so fucked.
Oh, well, that's true.
And
I mean,
also,
you're not going to leave the bill unpaid.
Well, yeah, duh. I'm going to be like, can I get the bill?
Yeah.
And then, but also the girls know I have the craziest dating stories. And if a man forced me to pick up my half of the check, they would probably be like, yeah, that's another piece of lore that we can add onto your list. And it's probably something that we wouldn't really expect. Again. Oh, absolutely not.
No. I think more so than picking up the check, them putting in the effort to plan the date
Yes.
is so much like, it's better, and it's actually like the nicest, best thing a man can do for you, because it's like, show me you care by literally doing that. And if you do that consistently,
that is quite honestly like the bare minimum.
I think so
plan
too,
the date.
because for example, we're talking about expectations. Do not go on a date that a guy's saying he wants to take you on, but you plan the whole thing.
Yeah, if a guy says, "Oh, hey, love to take you out," and you say, "Okay, that sounds great, yay, awesome," and he says, "What do you want to do?" Don't go.
Oh hell no! Or
don't go.
What time should we go? Or have you heard of this place? What should we do? Like that whole uncertainty.
No,
I'm like, you're just adding more work to my pocket. And honestly, what's the point of the day at that point?
Yeah, the guy that I'm going out with next week, I'm very excited about, and we've been messaging back and forth for a little bit, and he was like, honestly, like, I'd love to take you out to get drinks next week. And I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds fun. He goes, would you prefer next Saturday or next Sunday? Do you want to go to this restaurant or this restaurant? And both of them are very nice restaurants here in Orlando. And I was just like, because we're
going to have to report back, like, not
we
in
will
this
report
podcast,
back,
but in a future podcast, like how her first date went with this guy, because we were actually impressed with like how straightforward he was, and how
and it was point blank. It was no bullshit. This day or this day, this restaurant or this restaurant, and
I'll pick you up at 9. Like it was like
I'm not gonna. If he hasn't said anything about picking me up, either way, I'm gonna drive myself.
This day and age, it's not even safe to do that. So it's like, most people don't do that.
I found his LinkedIn though, so he had good reviews from previous coworkers.
If he's on LinkedIn, he might be worth it. Okay, last. Is this advice? Well, actually, let me just dive into that now that I'm thinking about it. There's a book, if you want to hand it to me. It's called Why Men Love Bitches. Now, I'm going to be so real with you. Giselle was the one that recommended us this book. And it's like, honestly,
this is our Bible.
This is her Bible. And she was like, oh, like, this is what I read. This is why I think this way. And so you guys should read it too. So Katie and I did. And honestly, there's a lot of really valid advice. Like, I'm not saying that everything in this book is like, you need to do it to a T to get a man, but there's a lot of things that especially if you don't have a lot of self-confidence or self-love and stuff, this book really teaches you, like, you come first.
Yes.
You come first.
The book kind of plays it into a little bit of a comparison in some chapters of the nice girl versus the bitch. For example,
that's why it's called that.
The Why Men Love Bitches, because naturally men have a hunter versus prey instinct. Men want to feel like they always have to be the one on the chase pursuing the woman. The nice girl makes it easy for the man to come to them. The nice girl will switch up their schedule on a dime if the man says, oh, I'm only available on Friday. The nice girl will say, oh, I was going to get dinner with my family on that Friday night, but you know what? It's okay. I can do lunch with them, or I could do dinner the next night. The bitch says, oh,
I can't.
Yeah, I can't.
I can't that day.
The only 2 days I'm available are Wednesday and Saturday. That's it. But
setting that priority and that boundary.
But because the men love the chase, they will say, you know what? 9 times out of 10, the man will say, you know what? Let me get back to you on this. Give him a couple of hours, go by. You know what? Okay, I was able to figure out my schedule for Wednesday. Let's do it then.
Yeah, like
and that has worked in the past for me.
Make the effort to see you. It's worked with me too. Like, I tried it after I read it, and they will put in the effort if they know you're busy, and it's almost like they want to feel like they're working for you, which is ironic given the fact that you would think, oh, like, I'm making it easy for you. Why don't you just? But they really don't. They don't operate like that. And I feel like every girl should at least read this book once. Take what you will from the book. You know, there's a lot of good advice. And I'd say that our advice is coming mostly from this book. So.
It is actually coming straight from the book. I took pictures of the pages I wanted to talk about.
Yeah. So actually, we have about 3 to 4 things that we really wanted that are takeaways from this book. And that is what we're going to go over right now. So what would you say your first takeaway is?
Okay. Rule number 1 when it comes to dating, especially when you're meeting someone new, you've only gone on 2 or 3 dates with them, make sure everything is planned, I would say at least 36 hours in advance. The more you get to know that person, the more time you spend with them, then you can become a little bit more spontaneous with them. The book says in this excerpt, is that how you pronounce it? Excerpt?
Yeah.
Okay.
In this section.
Okay. Whatever. Once you're in a relationship and he's shown a pattern of being interested over time, then it's okay to be a little more spontaneous. In the beginning, however, don't make yourself so accessible. If you do, the relationship will always be on his terms. The nice girl will often cancel plans with the girlfriend if she gets a last-minute date. The bitch will hold her own simply by keeping her previously set plans.
Which is so hard as a woman, okay? Especially if you're really interested in this guy. Your initial instinct is to drop everything to go do that thing. I've done that before. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I have actually done that before. I'm not proud to admit it. And sometimes I'm just like, well, I really, really want to go on this date, or I really want to hang out with him or whatever. But it's basically like compound interest. It like builds up over time.
Okay, finance queen.
Yeah. Like, come to me for investing. But it builds up over time, and eventually in this case, I guess, it doesn't pay off, but there is a alternate effect.
Yeah. I guess a perfect example of this is one of our old best friends. You know who I'm talking about. I don't want to name drop her, but she was seeing this guy last year, and
Let's just call her Banana.
Sure, let's call her Banana. And so anyway, Banana was seeing this guy in like January of last year, and what's in February? Valentine's Day. And all of us want a little Valentine's Day date. I didn't have a good feeling about the guy. I didn't have to meet him to know I don't have a good feeling about the guy. Anyway, so I tried telling her, you know, like giving her my advice. I was always very black and white with her, saying, listen, like, I don't have a good feeling about this guy. I think you should tread very lightly with him. And she was like, oh, it's fine. He's nice, blah, blah, blah. I'm just having a good time. Okay, come back to me when he dumps you. So,
no.
Anyway.
But that's what happened.
That's what happened. So anyway, Valentine's Day rolls around. They had gone out like once or twice beforehand. He hits her up at 4 p.m. on Valentine's Day.
I remember this.
Want to go out tonight? And she's calling me, oh my God, he asked me out for Valentine's Day. I'm like, girl, it's 5 o'clock at night.
I would have been pissed, actually.
I would have been pissed too.
I would have been like, you might as well have said nothing at all.
Yeah, and I remember telling my parents about this, and you know what my dad says? He goes, his previous date fell through.
100%.
100%.
She was like the last option. Is like, well, I guess.
I guess because
Banana.
And so anyway, him and Banana, they have a great time. They go get drinks somewhere. Banana ends up at his apartment. They end up having sex that night.
His apartment. No, literally.
Banana ends up having sex with this guy, and they see each other maybe 1 or 2 more times after that, and then he ghosts her out of thin air. And we're all like, hey, what happened to that guy that you were seeing? And she's like, oh my God, I have no idea. Like, we had sex on Valentine's Day, and then like we hung out a couple more times after that. I'm like, did you have sex with him every other time after that? And she was like, yeah, we did. And I'm like, he was using you for sex. Unfortunately, I'm like,
on Valentine's Day. I might add.
It's crazy work, by the way.
Yeah,
but
it's the day of love, not the day of lust. Like,
apparently for him, it was a day of lust.
yeah, like he was like,
and he was lost.
Oh hell no.
But so anyway, I was like, I don't mean to sound like a bitch, but this is exactly what I tried to warn you about. I mean, luckily for me, I've never been down this road before. I usually have very good intuition when it comes to these types of scenarios. However, I was like, I hate to see you heartbroken like this, but I can't help but say I told you so. Yeah. Because I knew the type of, it was a paramedic that she was seeing.
It always be them paramedics or firefighters.
Girls, if you're out there, I know they like really hot in uniform. Trust me. I was an ER nurse.
Every single bad story is like a paramedic or a firefighter.
Do not stay away from the 5 Ps. Paramedics, police, physicians, patient transporters, and firefighters.
And that's really bad. Firefighters.
Because next thing you know, they go poof and your panties are on the floor. And you're like, what happened?
And then they don't love you.
And then they don't love you.
What we do is a second thing. And we'll do, I guess, one more second thing before we get into our first date horror stories.
Okay, I personally love this one because I think this has gone really well for me in the past. If you couldn't already tell through these podcasts, I'm a very extroverted, don't give a fuck type of person, which is why I love this tip. A man wants a woman who has a mind of her own, an opinion. The way you assert yourself lets him know whether you have self-confidence. It lets him know you can hold your end of the bargain. When he gives you a little crap, you can give him a little crap right back. He respects a woman who can trade blows with him and hold her own.
I do like that, but this is my opinion on that.
Okay.
My opinion on that is yes, but if you assert yourself in a situation where no assertiveness was needed,
oh yeah,
it's received incorrectly. It's received wrong. It's received as being overbearing. You know, if in this case, okay, you're arguing with me, you're doing something, you're like asserting yourself, so you're defending yourself, it's fun. But if you're over asserting yourself, for example, I don't need a strong man like you to carry my bag. Let him carry the bag. You know what I mean? Like
he wants to help. He wants to carry the purse.
To carry the bag. He wants to help you. It's like it makes him feel good. He knows you can do it by yourself. It's not about that. It's about the gesture. That situation doesn't need assertiveness.
Men like having little tasks that they can do to make themselves feel more.
They'd be the dumbest task
necessary.
Like, I tied my shoes. Yay! I'm like, well, you just gotta like smile and like applaud and like reward. I guess not any behavior, but like the little things that you would think, why would I be saying that to anyone else?
I will say in times where like I have told previous men about like crazy encounters I've had with patients at work yelling at me, cursing at me, and like I would like stand up and, you know, like fight back with my patients because luckily enough I worked with a team of individuals who would support that type of behavior for myself because I worked in a very volatile ER, but you know, they always say I never would have expected that from you. Like you telling me the story and you having to get on that same level of crazy per se with your patient. And it makes me respect you a little bit more because I always thought you were like this nice, caring girl who doesn't really take a lot of shit from anyone, but does it in a polite manner. But you know how to stand your ground. And that makes me know that if I fuck with you, there will be repercussions.
Yeah.
I'm like, type shit.
And I feel like when you're a nice person, that often gets overlooked.
I was going to say the same thing. It gets overlooked.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there was one that you had that I really liked. Let me see. Here, I'll read it. Okay. This is probably my favorite, and I'll share this one, and then we'll go into our stories. Women who are, and this is directly from the book, obviously. Women who are successful in other areas of life are often the ones who find themselves saying, I should not have to apologize for being strong. Then the following week, they wonder why they can't find a good man. Because a good man wants a woman. Being a bitch does not mean you lose your femininity. And it also doesn't mean you overtly try to wear the pants in the house. It just means you don't allow anyone to walk all over you. Which is what I was talking about like a few seconds ago.
It goes hand in hand with the previous topic.
Yeah. And that problem often happens with independent women, which most of us, I feel like, are independent nowadays. And so we're so constantly in that masculine energy and space that when a man comes around, we almost don't know how to put it away.
Yeah.
To try and see, okay, I'm going to try and be in my feminine energy and see if he compliments that for me, you know? Mm-hmm. All right. Pull out these stories.
So
we went online and we found what we thought was like the worst first date stories, and we're going to read them to you and then give our opinion and advice on this because some of this shit is just crazy. Here, I'll read one.
Okay.
This is the first story. Modern Snow White says, that's the username.
This is Reddit, by the way.
One guy told me randomly, you have such a thin neck, I could break it with one hand. After I decided to not meet up anymore, he told me that all women are rotten and that he is the only decent human being on this planet. and that he will unalive himself. I called 911 and found out he had sent that message to several women and they all had called 911. A guy 12 years my senior told me he doesn't like women his age because they are boring and negative. While eating ice cream on a bench, he patted my hair and said, "You are such a good girl, aren't you?" Afterwards, he accused me of having several men and that I had to cut off my male friends. I feel like this is self-explanatory.
I don't even know where to start this one.
Insane. You have such a thin neck, I could break it with one hand. Okay, Ted Bundy. Like, what the heck? I was waiting for the part where she would say, like, the guy's in jail now.
Yeah. I would hope.
Like, because, I'm sorry, if you're saying this shit, like, I don't think he hasn't not acted on it.
Absolutely.
Like, who's a victim of him?
Yeah.
Oh, hell no. He's the only decent human being on this planet.
Get the fuck out of
No,
here.
that's given sociopath or, like, psychopath.
What's the one thing on Netflix that Ross Lynch played the main character for?
Austin and Ally?
No. Oh my god!
That's on Disney. But the main character. Oh, Dahmer? Wait, no.
Yeah, Dahmer.
Okay, well, Dahmer, there's two Dahmers. There's the one with the Evan guy, and he's on X-Men, and he plays the Speedy whatever guy. You know who I'm talking about? It's just like a visual thing. And then Ross Lynch did do a Dahmer, but are they both on Netflix? Also, Dahmer, I feel like Dahmer was different from Ted Bundy. Yeah, he was. Because Ted Bundy was charming and he was a sociopath and the girls wanted to be with him. Didn't you hear what happened like during his trial? There were women outside the courthouse knowing what he did, being like, "I would die for you, Ted Bundy. He's innocent." Yeah, until you're the next rotting corpse in the woods.
True.
Like,
yeah.
Dahmer, on the other hand, first of all, he didn't prey on women. He preyed on men. He was gay. He preyed on black men specifically. And he was not charming. He was not a sociopath. He was actually very awkward and shy. And he was just a psycho, in my opinion. Okay.
Fair
read
enough.
The next one.
Okay, true crime over here.
I love true crime. It's actually really bad.
Okay. I got set up on a blind date by an older woman that I worked with when I was 20. She gave him my number and he started texting me via text. And this was many years before camera phones were common, so we couldn't swap photos. He gave me a description of himself. 6'2", dark hair, blue eyes, a little bit of muscle. Pause. If you look like this, please slide in my DMs. Okay.
No, and like him like low-key inventing Tinder while he's like saying all this.
Period. My type, but he also had a personality and banter. We got along really well in text and we decided to meet up. He ended up being shorter than me. I'm 5 foot.
Oh, wait. Going from 5 foot to 6'2", is that what he said?
The guy that he was texting was 6'2", but the person who was writing this said that the guy was shorter than him and he is 5 foot.
That's what I'm saying. So like, for you to have been saying you were 6'2", and then you go see this guy, and that's actually, bro, that's not even like a little bit. Like, okay, if you say you're 6'2", but you're actually 6 feet, you can kind of get away with it.
Yeah.
It's like a whole 12 inch. That's like a whole foot or something.
To make matters worse, he accused me of lying about my height and gave me a lecture.
Not the gaslighting!
Wait. And gave me a lecture about how I just needed to accept being a tall woman and not to lie to men. I was flabbergasted. Like, is this real life? I bailed. I can compromise on things, but a psychotic liar is not one of them.
No, and like initially, like that is the ultimate form of gaslighting and delusional. Like,
yeah,
you're gonna sit here, look at me being taller than a skyscraper and say that you're lying? I'm sorry that your ego is broken. Maybe you put some stilettos on and come at me, maybe. What the hell?
Wow. That's wild. I'd be like, that's a lot of talk for someone who's... Never mind.
That's a lot of talk for someone that I can't even see.
Yeah.
This is from Shameless Throwaway. I paid him $20 in gas money to come pick me up. Okay, we started off on the wrong foot. You paid him $20 in gas money to come see you. That's already like Okay, you deserve.
You know what
whatever
that's giving? That's giving high school. Where my hug at energy.
Oh, it's literally being like, there's like a stance called that when a girlfriend pays for something, it's called like the broke boyfriend stance when like she's paying for something and she's like hugging over her over the dude, be so for real. Why does it start this way? I paid him $20 in gas money to come pick me up because I live fairly far away and I figured it was fair. No. I then paid $45 for dinner plus a $7 tip. Then I bought $25 in shisha to smoke hookah together. I don't smoke, so I don't know what that is. Because he loves it, but was out of shisha. Okay? He then demands sex in almost a rapey way, and I declined because it was a first date. I wasn't even liking him enough to kiss him. He did this half cry thing in which no tears came out, but he was sobbing. So he was like, I'm trying to imagine this. So he was like, it's actually so bad. I ended the date there and asked to be driven home. He said he'd drive me home if I had sex with him. I ended up taking a fucking taxi home. I waited outside his house for 2 hours late at night waiting for the taxi. That's a whole other story of bullshit. Whole trip together cost me over $200 to have the worst date of my life. For future, I don't mind paying for gas or dinner, that's fine, but then to treat me like shit, fuck you. Okay, but here's the thing. The moment she accepted to pay him gas to come see her, pay the dinner, then pay for the transportation. I'm like, girl,
and the hookah. Can't forget the hookah.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, did you even like want to be valued? Did you want to be the man today? Mm-hmm. Like,
you know what? It probably wasn't even his car. Based off of this story, it's probably a friend's car.
I feel like I paid him $20 in gas money. Like, I wouldn't, first of all, I never would have done that. I never would have done that. So if we had met at this restaurant and he had done the whole $45 dinner thing, this is what I would have done. I would have been like, I'm paying for my half and I'm leaving. You're not getting, the fact that she spent more time than necessary with him is like, why did she keep feeding into that? That doesn't make any sense.
Crazy. We met on a dating website and went to a sushi place for dinner. He was an asshole. He told me this repeatedly. Almost everything he said ended with, I know I'm an asshole, but at least I'm honest, right?
Oh my God.
Get the fuck out of my face if you say that to me.
Tate. First story he tells me is how he really only joined the dating website to troll people, but then he saw me and thought he'd give going on a real date a shot.
Wow.
Gee, thanks.
I'm so
All
honored.
his other stories were equally awful. Also, I'm pretty sure he literally thought no meant yes and yes meant no. I don't mean in a rape kind of way. When we were at the restaurant, he absolutely insisted that I order this one thing. I said no like 5 times, but he kept pushing for it until I ordered it just to shut him up. Then after the dinner, he wanted to go to the mall nearby and hang around. We walked around until we passed this anime/manga store. He asked if I wanted to go in, and I said, sure. I like that store. He insisted I didn't. Said he didn't want to force me to go. I said no. I really don't want to go in. We went in for like 2 minutes, and then he decided he didn't want to force me to do something I didn't want to do and practically dragged me out of the store. I didn't call him back after that. I feel like a lot of guys think this.
Yeah.
That no means yes and yes means no. And I guess, I mean, I don't want to say like we're crazy or anything, but I mean, there have been times where like women a lot of times do give mixed signals, but at the same time, if you're repeatedly saying no, come on. Like you have to be
Take a fucking hint. Listen, no,
it's not even a hint.
Take a hint.
It's me serving it on a silver platter. Like I don't know how many times I have to say this in another language for you to understand that no is no.
Let me say it in English. No. In
I've
Spanish.
had guys do that to me too, actually, now that I think about it. Maybe it's because when I'm upset, like I'll say, that's fine, and it's not fine, obviously. Yeah. But if you're asking me like a question, I'm gonna say yes or no. At least for me, I'm pretty literal when it comes to that.
Yeah, you're very literal.
No, why did you say it like that?
I have a speech impediment, guys. I feel like I said that like from like you know, like Miami accents. No, but I literally do.
The hot Cheeto girls. Ew. Okay, well, I guess this will conclude this episode of the Vitamin C Show. We hope that at the very least you walked out of it with some dating advice and at least a laugh or two of, what not to expect. Please don't go into the date like that one girl and like literally immediately start paying for him to do stuff for you. Honestly, that's like me going to Chick-fil-A, paying for the food, and then going to the back and start cooking it myself. Like I start popping the chicken in the fryer. I start popping the fries.
You know what?
And then I walk out.
They would probably let you because you're there all the time. Be like,
And
that's Gabby.
Chick-fil-A, like they literally are like the best customer service. But that's beyond the point. Do not go on a date starting off like that. Like, don't even waste your time doing that. Don't do anything you're uncomfortable with. Be yourself. Don't talk about sex on the first day unless that's what you're expecting. And I think you should be fine.
Yeah.
I think it's still
also,
worth doing.
Let me say this one last thing. I think avoiding dating apps is quite honestly the key.
Yeah.
Because meeting someone in person, like face to face, randomly at a bar, at a restaurant, whatever
Dating
you may
apps
have,
are such a double-edged sword, like a sticky issue because there are people that have had, like my 5th grade teacher. She met her husband on Match.com and they have 2 kids now and they've been together. I mean, they were not engaged when I was in 5th grade. I'm going to be 23 in June. I was 10 then. So that's how long they've been together. That's a long time. So it does work for some people, but the thing is it doesn't work for most people. And 2,
it weeds out the loons too.
Yeah, I feel like most people are going there to waste your time, or let's just put it this way. Most people are going there to hook up with people, not because they actually want a relationship. I don't think I've met a single person on a dating app that was going there for a relationship.
I mean,
or at least they say, okay, but they say that and then they do some
and then they break up with me 6 days later.
Exacto. And then your 6-day relationship.
Jackson, if you're watching that, you're welcome for the sweaters.
At least
I would have
relationship.
At least I have a bigger dick than you.
And her shortest relationship was literally this guy, and it was 6 days, and it was literally from a dating app. So it's just like, okay, like they
imagine I get the angriest phone call after this one goes live.
Because he ain't even gonna listen to this. But listen, like they be saying that, and then they don't even do the things to actually keep the relationship.
Motherfucker was telling me at fucking Rainforest Cafe, like, oh, I want a long-term relationship.
The Lava Lounge!
The Lava Lounge!
Bro, they went to like Rainforest Cafe in Disney.
We were making jokes about like...
And it was like it's not like a kiddie bar because a bar is not kiddie, but it was like themed like little volcano.
You had to walk through a volcano to get there. And I had food poisoning the week before this date.
The norovirus?
The norovirus. Yeah, I had norovirus the week before the date. And so I had to cancel and then reschedule for the day that we actually went out. And I did not recover my stomach for like 8 days. So what's
a little more alcohol?
So when we're on this date, I only had one drink. I had a strawberry daiquiri. And afterwards, I was so tipsy off of one strawberry daiquiri.
Oh, hell yeah, because...
As we started walking out of the restaurant, because you have to walk under that, like, volcano piece, I ran into the side of the volcano.
And that was what made him be like, yeah, 6 days, we're done.
No. He was like, I'm gonna...
He made those freaking Valentine's Day reservations, like,
he was like,
a day in advance.
He was like, I'm gonna propose to you inside this Rainforest Cafe. And I said, okay, bet.
And look, all that talk. Rule number, Brandy. Well, we'll get into Brandy's.
We'll get into Brandy.
We'll get into Brandy in another episode. But rule number 10: never trust what a man says. I don't care if he's the nicest person there. Just assume he's lying, please, for your sanity.
And rule number 6: your coochie is exclusive.
It is, in fact,
your coochie is exclusive.
But I will make Brandy a whole separate episode because that's another story to tell. So tune in for next week's episode where I'm actually going to be with my sister for that one. And we're going to be talking about universal high school experiences. And it should be funny because a lot of the things that my sister and I experienced in high school are fairly similar. And I feel like in America, time passes and really the only thing that changes is technology. But a lot of experiences are pretty universal in high school. And some of them are just downright stupid and funny. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode and listening, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.